AITA for dating my ex's best friend after she left me for the guy she said not to worry about. The week Natalie left, I found one of her hair ties looped around the handle of the cabinet where we kept takeout menus. I almost texted her a picture out of habit. For nearly 4 years, and for almost 2 of those years living together, small things like that had been our shared language. I am Luca, and I was 33 when this happened. Natalie was 31. I honestly thought we were past the stage where either of us was keeping an exit open. I was wrong about that. I was also wrong about how calmly I would react when she finally used it. Natalie and I had been different in ways that once felt useful. She was spontaneous. She would decide at 4 on a Saturday afternoon that we needed to drive somewhere for pie, or buy tickets to a show neither of us had heard of, or invite 6 people over when we had enough food for 3. I planned. I kept the shared calendar updated. I knew when the car insurance renewed, when the refrigerator filter needed replacing, and which of our friends could not eat dairy. If we took a trip, I had confirmation numbers saved in 2 places. Natalie used to say I made her feel safe. Later, she started saying I made everything feel scheduled. I paid more for optional things because I earned more and because I liked doing them. I covered most trips, subscriptions, restaurant checks, and a larger share of household costs. Natalie paid her agreed portion of rent and groceries, and I never treated the difference as leverage. At least, I did not think I did. Looking back, I had a bad habit of responding to emotional distance with logistics. If Natalie seemed unhappy, I planned a weekend. If we had not spent enough time together, I made a reservation. If she said we had become predictable, I bought tickets. It made me feel as if I were working on the problem. It also let me avoid asking whether she still wanted the life I was trying so hard to maintain. Derek first returned to the edges of our relationship about 3 months before the breakup. He was not a stranger. He had dated Natalie years before I met her. Their relationship had been intense, inconsistent, and apparently difficult enough that she had once described it as 2 people setting off each other's worst instincts. Then one evening, while we were folding laundry, she laughed at her phone. "Derek sent me an old picture," she said. I looked over. "Of what?" "That terrible concert we went to. I had bangs." She showed me the photo for half a second. It was mostly dark, but I could see Natalie leaning into him, both of them younger and grinning. "Why is he sending you that now?" She shrugged. "He found it." That should have been a simple answer. Instead, she placed her phone face down and started matching socks. A week later, Derek's name came up at dinner. Then again in the car. Then during a story about a restaurant he apparently loved. At first, I tried not to be the jealous boyfriend who treated an old name like an emergency. Natalie had friends I did not know well. I had women in my life who were only friends. I believed trust had to include room for ordinary contact. Then the late call started. The first time, she stepped onto the patio around 11. She said Derek was going through something and needed to talk to someone who knew his history. When she came back inside, I asked, "Does he know you are in a committed relationship?" She frowned. "Of course he knows about you." That was not my question. Her expression hardened. "What do you want me to say, Luca?" "I want to know whether he understands that there are boundaries." "He understands enough." "Enough for what?" She picked up her water and walked past me. "This is exactly why I did not want to tell you every time he contacted me. You turned everything into an interrogation." I did not follow her. I sat at the kitchen table for another 10 minutes, staring at the dark patio door and wondering whether I had been controlling or simply direct. That became the pattern. I asked a question. Natalie answered the least threatening version of it. If I asked again, the problem became my insecurity. Around that time, I booked an anniversary trip for us. It was 6 weeks away, and the hotel and event package were both refundable until 10 days before check-in. The reservation was in my account and charged to my card. Natalie had sent me a few Venmo payments marked anniversary fun, but those had gone toward meals and tickets we had already bought for other weekends. The upcoming package was mine financially and contractually. One night, while I was checking the confirmation, she leaned over my shoulder. "Can you change the guest name on that if you need to?" I looked at her. Why would I need to? I do not know. Emergencies happen. The primary reservation is mine. I think I can change the second guest. Can the guest do it? Probably not without approval. She nodded as if the answer had no importance. I checked the policy anyway. The account owner had to approve any guest name change. I did not accuse her of anything. At the time, I told myself that suspicion without proof could poison a relationship as easily as betrayal could. The public disrespect came a few weeks later at dinner with our usual group. Tessa had made pasta. Ben brought wine. Maya, Natalie's closest friend since college, sat across from us. Someone asked Natalie whether she was still thinking about taking a dance class. Derek's name somehow entered the answer. Derek would just sign up and go, Natalie said. He creates momentum. Ben laughed. And Luca? Natalie turned toward me with a little smile. Luca is good at maintenance. The table went quiet in that particular way people go quiet when they are waiting to see whether a joke is allowed to become real. I said, maintenance. You know what I mean, she replied. You keep things running. That sounded flattering in your head. She rolled her eyes. Do not make it weird. Maya put down her fork. It was already weird, she said. Natalie gave her a sharp look, then changed the subject. I did not confront Natalie in front of everyone. I waited until we were in the car. That was not a joke, I said. It was one sentence. It was a comparison you wanted an audience for. You are making everything too serious lately. You compare me to Derek. I said you have different personalities. No. You said he creates something, and I maintain what is already there. She crossed her arms and looked out the window. Maybe I am tired of feeling like our relationship is another thing on your calendar. That landed because it was not entirely false. I gripped the steering wheel and said, then tell me that. Do not use him to do it. For the next 2 weeks, I tried to get us into one honest conversation. I admitted that I defaulted to planning when I was anxious. I suggested counseling. I suggested a firm boundary with Derek while we figured out what was happening between us. Natalie said counseling made the relationship sound broken. When I asked whether she was willing to stop the private calls with Derek, she said I was trying to control who she spoke to. Finally, one Sunday evening, I asked the question I had been avoiding. Do you want this relationship, or do you want the unfinished feeling you have with him? She sat on the end of the couch with both hands around a coffee mug. I do love you, she said. That was not what I asked. You make me feel safe. I waited. She looked down. But sometimes safe feels predictable. Dissatisfaction is something we can talk about. Keeping another man emotionally close while you decide whether I am exciting enough is different. You always make it sound ugly. I am trying to make it clear. She left the room without agreeing to counseling and without agreeing to boundaries. 3 nights later, she came home carrying an overnight bag. I had seen the bag before she said anything. It was the small gray one she used for 2-night trips. She set it beside the entry bench. I need some space, she said. Where are you going? That is not the point. Is Derek involved? She rubbed her forehead. I cannot keep having the same fight. Are you ending this relationship so you can be with Derek? I need to follow this before I resent you. That is still not an answer. She stared at me for several seconds. Fine. Yes. I need to give it a real chance. I felt something cold move through my chest, but my voice stayed level. So you are ending our relationship to pursue him. I said I need a separation. A separation where you date Derek. I do not know what is going to happen. That is exactly why I need a clear answer. She looked angry then, as if clarity itself were cruel. Why does everything have to become permanent tonight? Because you are leaving tonight to be with someone else. 4 years do not disappear because I take a few weeks. The history does not disappear. The relationship does. She picked up her bag. I thought you would at least let me figure out what I feel. You are allowed to figure it out. You are not entitled to keep me committed while you do. She left. About 20 minutes later, I sent a text. I wrote, for clarity, are you ending our relationship so you can pursue a relationship with Derek? She called immediately. I did not answer. Then she texted back. Yes, I am ending it because I need to see if there is something real with Derek. But please do not make permanent decisions yet. I need time. I read it 3 times. Then I replied, I accept that the relationship is over. From now on, contact me only about property, shared bills, and the transfer of accounts. I will handle those fairly and in writing. The read receipt appeared 2 minutes later. She did not respond until the next morning. You are being unbelievably cold. I did not sleep that night. I lay on my side, stared at the blue light from the charger near the bed, and had imaginary conversations in which Natalie came back and said she had panicked. In some versions, I forgave her. In others, I said the perfect sentence and closed the door. At 4 in the morning, I got up and opened a spreadsheet. That was probably the most predictable thing I could have done. It also kept me from calling her. I listed every account, bill, subscription, reservation, and piece of property that needed to be separated. I removed Natalie from my personal streaming accounts and the delivery app connected to my card. I changed passwords for my email and financial accounts. I did not touch her accounts or devices. Our phone plan was in my name, so I opened a transfer window that gave her 10 days to move her number instead of shutting it off. I sent her the instructions and the deadline. We had a small household balance that covered groceries, utilities, and shared purchases. I reviewed our contributions, including Venmo memos, and transferred her documented share to her account. I did not deduct for old dinners, trips, or gifts. I did not decide that paying more in the past meant she owed me for loving her. I canceled refundable plans that were owned through my accounts. I saved receipts for every refund. I added the phone transfer deadline, property pickup date, and reservation cancellation to the shared calendar. Then I removed myself from the calendar after taking screenshots. The next afternoon, Natalie called. "What did you do to the streaming accounts?" "I removed your profile from accounts I pay for." "You did it overnight?" "Yes." "And my phone?" "You have 10 days to transfer the number." I sent the instructions. "This is financial punishment." "No. I am stopping future expenses connected to a relationship you ended." "You canceled the restaurant next month too." "It was a reservation for us." "You did not have to erase everything." "I am not erasing the past." "It feels like it." I looked at the cabinet with the takeout menus and the hair tie still hanging from the handle. "I am not billing you for the past," I said. "I am stopping what I would have paid in the future." She was quiet. Then she said, "Derek cannot take on a bunch of extra expenses right now." The sentence was so revealing that neither of us spoke for a moment. "Finally," I said, "that is not my responsibility. You do not have to sound pleased about it." I was not pleased. But I will admit that hearing Derek could not immediately replace the practical support I had provided gave me a small, ugly sense of satisfaction. The anniversary trip became the next fight. Natalie texted, "Please do not cancel the hotel package yet. We might still use it to talk and get closure." I replied, "You ended the relationship to pursue Derek. I am canceling a refundable reservation on my card." She wrote, "I planned around that trip." I typed, "So did I." She called again. "You canceled it to hurt me," she said. "I canceled something on my card after you ended the relationship. You always use money to control the situation. Then explain why you expect me to keep paying. It was supposed to be our anniversary. It is not our anniversary trip anymore. You do not know that." "I do." She hung up. The refund processed 2 days later. While checking the booking account, I noticed a service note I had not seen before. It was an automated record dated 2 days before the breakup. A guest using the secondary access link had requested to replace my guest information with Derek's full name. The request had failed because I was the primary account owner and had not approved it. I sat in front of the laptop with my hand resting on the trackpad, reading the same line until the words stopped looking real. 2 days before Natalie walked in carrying the gray bag, someone had tried to place Derek on the trip I had paid for. I downloaded the account record. Then I called the booking company. I did not tell the representative the whole story. I asked what the record meant and whether it could have been generated by accident. She said the guest had opened the change form, entered the replacement information, and submitted it. It was not a system error. The primary account owner would have received an approval request, but the request had been blocked because part of the identifying information did not match. I checked my email. The approval message had gone to spam. That was the first concrete proof that Natalie had not simply made an emotional decision on the night she left. She had been planning around Derek before the breakup, and at least part of that plan involved a trip she did not own. I did not call her. I wanted to. I wanted to ask one question and keep asking until her version collapsed. Instead, I saved the record in a folder with the breakup text, refund confirmation, transfer instructions, and read receipts. The next day, Maya texted me. I should have said something before she left. I stared at the message for almost an hour before replying. "What did you know?" She answered, "I knew she was talking to Derek. I knew she was thinking about leaving. I did not know about any trip change." I wrote, "Why tell me now?" The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, she sent, "Because she is telling people you threw her out and cut her off without warning. And because I was a coward." Maya asked to meet. I did not want her in the apartment, and I did not trust a phone call, so we met at a coffee shop the next afternoon. She looked exhausted. Her hair was tied back, and she kept turning the paper sleeve on her cup. I knew enough to feel guilty, she said before I asked. You knew she was planning to leave me for him? I knew she was talking to him and romanticizing what they had. I told her it was wrong. Did you tell her to stop? Yes. Did you tell me? No. Then you made your choice. She nodded. I did. I had expected excuses. Her agreement took some of the force out of my anger. I said, why did you protect her? Because she was my friend. Because I kept telling myself it was emotional confusion and not a plan. Because she promised she would talk to you. She did talk to me. After trying to put Derek on my reservation. Maya's face changed. What? I showed her only the booking record, not the rest of the folder. She read it twice. I did not know about that. Would you tell me if you had? She met my eyes. I want to say yes. My behavior suggests you should not believe me automatically. That was the first thing she said that made me trust her a little. Then I asked the question that felt unfair but necessary. Did your feelings for me affect what you were telling me now? She went still. After a long pause, she said, I liked you. While I was with Natalie. Yes. I never acted on it. I never flirted with you. I never tried to create a problem between you. But it was there. Yes. That does not make me trust you. It should not. Not yet. We left without resolving much. Still, we kept texting. At first the messages were about logistics and what Natalie was saying. Then they drifted into ordinary things. Music. Bad movies. A restaurant Maya claimed made the only acceptable grilled cheese. A running argument about whether people who left cabinet doors open could be trusted. That ordinary contact was comforting in a way I did not want to examine. Meanwhile, I arranged the property exchange. I made a written inventory of Natalie's clothes, electronics, books, furniture, kitchen items, and the boxes she had stored in the hall closet. I sent it to her and asked her to add anything I missed. My older sister, Elena, came over to be present. She looked at the spreadsheet on the table and said, You made columns. I did. You are heartbroken in the most administrative way possible. I do not want her claiming I kept anything. That is reasonable. She glanced toward the hallway, where I had labeled boxes. This part is a little intense. I know. Do you? Natalie arrived 40 minutes late with a rented van and a friend I did not know. She barely looked at Elena. Why is she here? To make sure the exchange is clear for both of us. So I need supervision now? No. We both need a witness. Her expression tightened, but she started checking the inventory. I had not packed her clothes into trash bags or thrown her belongings into the hallway. Everything was folded or boxed. I had separated fragile items. Her desk was still assembled because she had said she wanted to move it herself. Halfway through the pickup, she asked, Has Maya contacted you? Elena looked at me, but said nothing. I answered, Yes. Natalie stopped moving. What did she say? That is between Maya and me. Natalie laughed once, without humor. Of course. What does that mean? It means she has probably been waiting for this. Waiting for what? For me to make a mistake. I almost said, You made several. Instead, I handed her the box with her kitchen equipment. When she finished loading most of her things, I asked whether she was confirming that she no longer lived there. She stared at me. I am staying elsewhere. That is not the same answer. Fine. I do not live here right now. Then I am changing access. We can schedule the final pickup for anything left. You cannot lock me out. You are ending your residence here by taking your belongings and confirming you live elsewhere. I am giving you written pickup access for the remaining property. She looked at Elena. Do you think this is normal? Elena said, I think leaving for another relationship and expecting your old key to keep working is not normal. Natalie returned the building access device, but said she could not find the spare key. That evening, I changed the lock. I sent her a message confirming the remaining inventory, the final pickup deadline, and the neutral storage option I would use if scheduling became difficult. She read it. 9 days after the breakup, Maya came over with takeout because she had offered to help me sort receipts and verify the timeline. I hesitated before letting her come. Part of me knew exactly how it would look if Natalie found out. Part of me also thought Natalie had no right to control who sat at my table. Maya and I were halfway through cold noodles when someone tried the door. The handle moved once. Then again. Natalie knocked hard. I looked through the peephole and saw her holding the old spare key. When I opened the door, I kept one hand on the frame. Her eyes went past me immediately. Maya was visible from the entryway. Natalie's face changed from anger to shock. "What is she doing here?" I said, "What item do you need? Why does my key not work? You confirmed you no longer lived here. I still have things inside. We have a scheduled pickup. You changed the lock without telling me. I sent you the access message. You read it." She looked at Maya again. "You could not even wait." Maya stood but did not approach the door. I said, "You ended the relationship. That does not mean you bring my best friend into our home. You told me this was no longer your home." Her eyes filled, but her voice became sharper. "I thought we had more history than this." "So did I." That was colder than it needed to be. I knew it as soon as I said it. Natalie flinched, then looked at Maya. "How long has this been happening?" Maya answered, "Nothing was happening before the breakup." Natalie laughed bitterly. "Right." I said, "Tell me what you came to get." "My black jacket." I checked the inventory on my phone. "It is in the remaining box. Elena can be here tomorrow at 6 or Saturday at noon. You need your sister here so you can hand me a jacket?" "I need the exchange documented." "No, you need an audience." She turned and walked away. Maya waited until the sound of Natalie's footsteps disappeared. Then she said, "You enjoyed that." I closed the door. "No, not all of it, but part of it." I did not answer. She sat down again, but the ease of the evening was gone. Within 2 days, the group chat started. Ben wrote, "Natalie says Luca locked her out with no warning and already has Maya over. Can someone explain what is happening?" Tessa replied, "I think everyone has different versions." Natalie wrote, "I asked for space. Luca decided that meant destroying every part of our life overnight." I read the thread without responding for several minutes. Then Ben tagged me. Did she actually end it, or did she ask for space? I posted a screenshot of one exchange. I cropped out unrelated messages. It showed my question asking whether she was ending the relationship to pursue Derek, her answer saying yes, and my response limiting contact to logistics. I wrote, "She told you something different from what she told me." Natalie replied almost immediately, "You cornered me into saying it that way." I wrote, "I asked whether you were leaving me for Derek. You said yes." She answered, "Sharing private messages is disgusting." Ben said, "She still had belongings there." I replied, "She received a written inventory, took most of her property, confirmed she lived elsewhere, and had scheduled pickup access for the rest." Tessa asked, "Were the accounts shared?" I wrote, "The household balance was divided by contribution. Her phone number has a transfer window. I removed her from personal accounts and canceled refundable reservations owned by me." Natalie wrote, "He made the breakup permanent because I would not obey him." I stopped responding. The screenshot corrected the basic lie, but it did not fix the group. Some people thought the text was clear. Others said 4 years together should have earned Natalie a softer transition. Ben called me separately. "I believe she left," he said. "I am not defending that. It sounds like you are about to. I am saying you moved at maximum speed. You knew she would panic. She left to date someone else. And then you had Maya sitting in the apartment 9 days later. She was helping me sort records." Ben laughed. "Come on. It was not a date. That is an extremely convenient definition." He was not entirely wrong. Maya and I were not dating then, but I was attracted to her. I liked talking to her. I liked that she was direct. I also knew Natalie would hate it. Those truths existed together. A few days later, Maya had an extra ticket to a small live music event. She said, "This is not officially a date." I said, "That sounds like something people say immediately before going on a date. It is 2 people attending music. With plausible deniability." Exactly. We agreed not to spend the evening discussing Natalie. For the most part, we did not. We argued about the opening band. We shared fries. Maya told me a story about accidentally attending the wrong birthday party as a child and staying because the cake looked better. For 3 hours, I felt normal. Near the end of the night, one of Maya's friends took a picture and asked if she could post it. Maya looked at me. I said, "Do not tag me without asking." The friend asked. I agreed. The photo was harmless. Maya and I were seated beside each other, not touching, both laughing at something outside the frame. Natalie saw it within an hour. She texted me, "So this is why you were so ready to end everything." I did not answer. Then another message appeared. Did she tell you what I said about waiting? I read that one several times. Before I could open the thread, the message disappeared. Natalie had deleted it. The notification preview remained on my lock screen long enough for me to take a screenshot. I had not accessed her device or account. She had sent the words to me. I replied, "What exactly did you say about me waiting?" She wrote, "Nothing. Forget it." I sent the screenshot to Maya. Her response came 5 minutes later. "We need to talk." We met the next day. Maya did not start with Natalie's message. She started with me. "You liked that she was jealous," she said. I did not send her the photo. "You agreed to be tagged." "Because I was at the event." "That is true. It is also not the entire truth." I leaned back. "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to say whether I am a person you like or evidence that you are fine." "That is not all this is." I did not say it was all. I said it was in here. I looked away. She continued, quieter this time. "I am not going to become the photograph you use to prove you are fine. I like you. I like you too. That is why I am saying this." I rubbed my hands together and stared at the table. I did enjoy that she saw it. Maya nodded. "Thank you for not lying. That does not mean I am using you. It means you could." She was right. I had spent the previous weeks telling myself every practical choice was clean because it was justified. Most of them were justified. But that did not mean every emotion behind them was noble. Maya took out her phone. "Natalie is accusing us of having something before the breakup. That is false. I will not let her rewrite that. What did she mean about me waiting?" "I have a message." She did not hand me a cropped screenshot. She opened the full conversation and scrolled back 3 weeks before the breakup. Natalie had written, "Derek wants to see what is still there, but he is not promising anything yet." Maya had replied, "Then stop talking to him privately or end things with Luca before this gets worse." Natalie wrote, "I am not blowing up for years without knowing Derek is serious." Maya replied, "You cannot test one relationship while reserving the other." Natalie's next message said, "I am not closing Luca's door until Derek shows me he is serious. Luca is too invested to move on in a few weeks anyway. We already have the anniversary trip, so there is an easy way to reconnect if Derek is just chasing nostalgia." I felt physically sick. The message did not just confirm that Natalie expected me to wait. It showed that she had considered our trip part of her fallback plan. I asked Maya to scroll further. Her next message read, "Luca is a person, not a reservation you keep open." Natalie answered, "You are making this dramatic." Maya said, "I should have told you." "Yes." I kept thinking she would stop. "She told you exactly what she was doing." "I know. Why did you wait until now?" "Because when she accused us of cheating, she stopped asking me to keep a private mistake private. She started using my silence to create another lie. That still makes this useful to you." She looked at me steadily. "Yes. I am not pretending I have no interest in what happens between us. But the date is the date. I did not invent it." I asked her to send me the full surrounding exchange, including her own replies. She did. I checked the timestamp against the booking request and the breakup text. The sequence aligned. 3 weeks before the breakup, Natalie said she would not close my door. 2 days before the breakup, someone using the guest link requested Derek's name on the trip. The night of the breakup, Natalie confirmed in writing that she was ending our relationship to pursue him. Afterward, she asked me not to cancel the trip because we might use it for closure. There was still one gap. I did not know what Derek had been told. Contacting him felt humiliating. It also felt like remaining inside a triangle I wanted to leave. I spent a day deciding whether verification mattered. Then Natalie told Tessa that Maya and I must have been involved before the breakup because people do not move that fast unless something was already happening. At that point, the timeline mattered because my reputation had become part of her escape route. I sent Derek one message. "This is Luca. I am not looking for a fight. Natalie has made conflicting claims about when our relationship ended. Before the date on this screenshot, did she represent herself to you as single?" I attached only the breakup confirmation date, not private details. He did not answer for almost a day. Then he wrote, "She told me you had been done for months." I replied, "We were still living together." He said, "She said it was practical." Did she mention the anniversary trip? Another long delay. Then he sent part of their thread. Natalie had written, "The trip is already handled. We just have to fix the guest name." Derek had replied, "He is paying for it." Natalie wrote, "It was booked a while ago. Do not make it weird." His later message to me said, "I accepted the explanation that worked best for me. I appreciated the honesty because it did not ask me to see him as innocent." I replied, "Did she tell you she was still deciding between us?" He wrote, "No. She said you were over and refusing to accept it." That was enough. I told him I was not asking him to take my side and would not contact him again. He answered, "I am going to ask her about the trip." I did not respond. 2 days later, Derek ended whatever he and Natalie had started. I learned that from Natalie, not from him. She called me after midnight. I almost let it ring out. Then I answered because some part of me still reacted to her name like it belonged to my life. She was crying. "Derek thinks I used him." I sat on the edge of the bed. "Did you? Do not do that. Why are you calling me? I made a mistake. What do you need?" There was a pause. "I cannot stay where I am much longer." "Then you need to arrange housing." I thought maybe I could stay there temporarily. "No. Luca, please. No. For years, and you cannot let me sleep in the other room for a week. You left this relationship to pursue Derek. You moved your property out and confirmed you lived elsewhere. I thought you would give me time to figure things out. You were allowed to choose. You were not promised that every choice would preserve the life you left." She cried harder. For a moment, I hated myself for sounding so controlled. Then she said, "Maya has been poisoning you against me." That ended the sympathy. Maya did not submit Derek's name on my reservation. You do not know what she has wanted this whole time. I know what you did. She has always been jealous of us. Do not call me again tonight. So you are choosing her? I am choosing not to be your backup housing. I ended the call. The next morning, I sent her information for 2 neutral storage services and confirmed the remaining property pickup. I did not send money. Tessa asked everyone to stop using the group chat as a courtroom. Then Natalie asked her to host a conversation. Tessa believed putting people in one room would stop the story from mutating. That was optimistic, but she meant well. She invited me, Natalie, Maya, Ben, and 2 other friends who had heard conflicting versions. I told Tessa I would come under one condition. I will correct direct lies. I am not going to debate whether Natalie was allowed to be unhappy. Tessa said, "That is fair. If people start shouting, I leave." Also fair. I brought a thin folder. It contained a short timeline, the breakup confirmation, the guest change record, the refund information, and the full message Maya had provided. I did not bring unrelated texts. I did not bring intimate messages. I did not post anything online. I told myself the folder was only for self-defense. Elena, when I mentioned it, said, "That can be true, and you can still be looking forward to opening it." I said nothing. She added, "Do not confuse having evidence with having to use all of it." Tessa's dinner was tense before anyone sat down. Natalie arrived first. Maya arrived last and took a chair at the far end of the table, not beside me. For the first 20 minutes, no one touched the food. Tessa began. "I want each person to say what they believe happened, and I want dates where dates matter." Natalie crossed her arms. I asked Luca for space because I was confused. He immediately canceled everything, removed me from accounts, changed the lock, and started seeing Maya. I said, "You confirmed the breakup in writing." "I confirmed what you pressured me to say." Tessa asked, "Were you pursuing Derek?" Natalie looked down. I needed to understand whether unresolved feelings were real. Ben said, "That is what she told me. It was not supposed to be permanent." I turned to Natalie. "Did you tell me you were ending our relationship to pursue Derek?" She exhaled sharply. I said yes after you kept demanding a binary answer. "So yes. That is not the whole context. Did you ask me not to cancel the anniversary trip after the breakup?" I said we might use it to talk. "Did someone submit Derek's name as the replacement guest before the breakup?" Her head lifted. "No." I waited. She looked around the table. "Absolutely not." I opened the folder. Ben muttered, "Here we go." I placed the breakup screenshot in front of Tessa first. It showed the date, my direct question, Natalie's yes, my logistics message, and the read receipt. Then I placed the automated guest change record beside it. The request was made 2 days before the breakup through the guest link. I said. The booking company confirmed it was manually submitted. It asked to replace my guest information with Derek's name. Natalie stared at the page. "That does not prove I did it. You were the only person with the guest link. You sent it to me months ago. Anyone could have seen it. Did Derek have it? She did not answer. I took out the limited thread Derek had sent. I had covered his phone number and removed unrelated lines. It showed Natalie telling him the trip was handled and that they only needed to fix the guest name. The room went quiet. Tessa read it slowly. You told me you did not involve Derek in the trip, she said. Natalie looked at me. You contacted him? I asked what timeline you gave him. That is obsessive. You accused me of cheating with Maya. You did cheat emotionally. Maya spoke for the first time. Then say you are hurt. Do not change the date of the breakup. Natalie turned toward her. You do not get to talk. Maya nodded once. I probably deserve that from you. But I did not have a relationship with Luca before you left. You wanted one. Yes. That answer surprised everyone, including Ben. Maya continued. I liked him. I did not act on it. I also knew you were talking to Derek, and I should have warned Lucas sooner. Natalie laughed. So now you are honest because it benefits you. In part, yes. Maya's voice shook, but she kept going. I was loyal to you when loyalty had become complicity. I am sorry for that. Natalie looked around the table. She is admitting she wanted him. How does that not prove my point? It proves Maya had feelings, I said. It does not move the breakup date. You were ready for her. I was wrecked. She was there. Exactly. I felt the satisfaction of having the stronger evidence. I also felt how ugly the room had become. Ben looked at me. You made your point about the breakup. You did not have to bring her best friend into your apartment 9 days later. I did not start dating Maya 9 days later. You knew what it would do. I answered honestly. Part of me did. Maya looked at me, but did not interrupt. Ben said, then some of this was punishment. Some of my feelings were. The financial separation was not. Natalie slapped her palm against the table. You cut me off because I would not choose you immediately. No, I stopped paying after you chose someone else. I was confused. Confusion does not create an obligation for me. You knew Derek was complicated. That was why you kept me available. I did not keep you available. Maya took out her phone. Natalie, do not deny that part. Natalie's face hardened. You would not. Maya said. You are telling people Luca betrayed you before the breakup. You are using my silence to support that. She opened the full exchange and passed the phone to Tessa. Tessa read for a long time. Then she asked Natalie, you said he was too invested to move on in a few weeks? Natalie said nothing. Tessa continued. And you said the anniversary trip gave you an easy way back if Derek was only chasing nostalgia? Natalie looked at Maya. You promised that was private. Maya swallowed. I should have told him when you sent it. Natalie pointed at me. He is enjoying this. The accusation hit because it was partly true. I said, I am enjoying not being called a cheater when I was not one. You brought evidence because you wanted to embarrass me. I brought it because you told everyone I cheated. You replaced me with my best friend. I did not replace you while we were together. You tried to replace me on a reservation before you ended us. She started crying. No one applauded. No one celebrated. One friend stared at the table. Another asked whether the guest change request could have been made after the breakup and entered with the wrong timestamp. Tessa checked the record and confirmed the date. Ben still looked angry with me. Natalie wiped her face. I was trying to choose between two futures. I said no. You were testing one while keeping the other funded. That is a disgusting way to describe 4 years. No, it is a disgusting way to end them. The sentence came out sharper than I intended. The room went silent again. Natalie looked at me as if I had struck something fragile. Then she said, if you could move on this fast, you never loved me. I closed the folder. You did not lose me when Maya sat beside me. You lost me when you decided I would stay available while you compared us. She stood. You are going to regret choosing her. I am not choosing between you. That is what you have been doing this whole time. No, that is what you were doing. She left before dinner was served. Ben stayed long enough to say he believed the evidence and still thought Maya should have been off limits. Tessa said, both things can be true. Maya said nothing until we were outside. Then she told me she was going home alone. I asked, are you angry? I am not angry that you defended yourself. But you wanted her to feel small. I looked toward the parking lot. Yes. And I helped. You told the truth. I did. I also waited until the truth protected me. Neither of us tried to make the evening cleaner than it was. A few days later, Natalie asked to meet privately. I agreed to a coffee shop during the afternoon. She looked tired. Not dramatic. Not destroyed. just tired in a way that made 4 years sit down at the table with us. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "I made the wrong choice." I answered, "You made a choice that did not work." Her eyes filled. "Why are you determined to believe I do not love you?" "I believe you loved me." "Then why are you acting like none of it mattered?" "Because love was not the only thing you expected me to provide." She looked away. I confused excitement with something bigger. Maybe Derek was a mistake. That does not make me the correction. She put both hands around her cup. "I honestly thought you would wait." "I know. I thought we had enough history that a few weeks would not erase us. You were asking me to stay committed while you tested another relationship. I did not think of it that way." Maya told you exactly what it was. Her mouth tightened at Maya's name. "Cut her off," she said. "Then we can at least talk about us without her in the middle. There is no us waiting behind that condition. So she matters more than 4 years. My decision matters more than your expectation that I would never make one." She stared at me. "Do you love her?" "No." The answer was true at the time. Natalie seemed relieved for half a second. Then I continued, "But I am not coming back." She started crying quietly. I did not mock her. I did not tell her she deserved pain. I sat there and let the silence hold what neither of us could repair. After a few minutes, she said, "I am sorry." I believed she was sorry. I also believed much of her regret came from learning that my availability had never been permanent. "Regret can be real without becoming a reset button," I said. She nodded once. That was the closest we came to a peaceful ending. Elena attended the final property exchange. Natalie took the last boxes, including the black jacket she had come for that night. I included an old photo strip from a fair we had gone to during our first year. For a moment, I considered keeping it. Then I put it in the box. I was not going to preserve pieces of her life, so I could use them later. Natalie returned the spare key. I gave her the final inventory and a written acknowledgement that all belongings and funds had been resolved. She read it, signed it, and took a photo. At the door, she looked past me into the apartment. "Is Maya here?" "No." She nodded. "Goodbye, Luca." "Goodbye, Natalie." After she left, Elena picked up the signed page. "You know this is the saddest receipt I have ever seen." "I know. Do not date Maya because it makes this feel like you won." "I know." She gave me a look. "That was too fast." "I am trying to know." That conversation stayed with me. A few days later, I met Maya and told her the part one had been minimizing. "I like you," I said. But I cannot honestly separate that from how good it felt when Natalie realized I was not waiting. Maya nodded. "I know. I do not want to use you." "Then do not. I think we should stop for a while." Her expression tightened, but she did not argue. "How long?" "I do not know. A few weeks. Enough that we are not checking whether Natalie heard about us." "I am not waiting in reserve either." "I would not ask you to." She looked at me for a long moment. "Come back only if you are choosing me, not choosing against her." "I will. And if you do not, then I will leave you alone." We did not talk for several weeks. The friend group settled unevenly. Tessa apologized for accepting Natalie's first version too quickly. She also apologized for believing one dinner could fix a situation that had been breaking privately for months. Ben told me he believed Natalie had lied and still thought Maya was a line I should not have crossed. I stopped trying to persuade him. He was not wrong that the timing was messy. He was wrong that Natalie's betrayal gave her permanent authority over my future. Both of those things could be true. Derek disappeared from the situation. I heard through Tessa that he and Natalie no longer spoke. He had not offered her a committed future, and once he understood that she had overlapped the stories and expected me to finance part of their trial run, the excitement apparently lost its appeal. I did not celebrate that. His withdrawal did not restore anything to me. Natalie and I had no further contact after a final email confirming the phone transfer and closing the shared calendar. She had her number, her property, her share of the household balance, and no access to my accounts, home, or money. About 5 weeks after Maya and I stopped talking, I sent her a message. "Would you have coffee with me?" Not to discuss Natalie. She answered an hour later. "Coffee is not a relationship." "I know. It is also not an audition for who would have been the better girlfriend." "I know." "Then yes." When we met, I apologized without trying to turn the apology into proof that I had changed. I told her I had enjoyed the revenge element at first. I told her her attention had repaired my pride when I felt replaceable. I told her that was not the same as caring about her, but it had been mixed into the beginning. She apologized again for staying silent when Natalie first described the plan. Neither of us asked the other to call the past harmless. We decided to date slowly. No shared finances. No moving in. No dramatic promises. No presenting the relationship as evidence that everything had worked out. Some dates were awkward because Natalie remained the invisible third subject we were trying not to mention. Other dates were ordinary. Ordinary turned out to be useful. Months later, Maya and I were still together, still moving carefully, and still capable of disagreeing about what our beginning meant. Ben remained polite and distant. Tessa stayed in both our lives. Elena liked Maya, but refused to romanticize how we met. Natalie remained out of my life. One evening, while looking for a takeout menu, I found the old hair tie still looped around the cabinet handle. I had somehow missed it through the lock change, the boxes, the receipts, the confrontation, and the final sign page. For a second, my thumb moved toward my phone. The old instinct was still there. See something familiar. Send it to Natalie. Keep the shared language alive. Then I took the hair tie off the handle and dropped it in the trash. I did not feel victorious. I felt finished. I stopped confusing being dependable with being permanently available. That realization cost me 4 years, part of a friend group, and the version of myself who believed patience could make another person choose me. It also forced me to admit something less flattering. A boundary can be necessary and still carry anger inside it. Natalie and I stayed separated. Every account and possession was resolved. Maya and I chose a defined, slower relationship instead of pretending the way we began was clean. Some people will always think dating my ex's best friend was the one line I had no right to cross. I understand why. I just no longer believe Natalie's decision to leave gave her the right to keep my life waiting behind the door. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.